Hey, this is Issa Nakazawa, your host for Transmission Studio, a show featuring the independent artists and community-based organizations that make San Francisco's arts and culture scene what it is today. And today we're super excited to bring you part 2 of a conversation with FNG, Family Not a Group, a 16-person artist collective based right here in the city. And today we're talking to Frack, Mike Evans Jr., and Vaughn. So keep it locked and stay tuned. Wow, what an honor it is to have the three of you in the studio. We just spoke to 3 of the 16, right? 16 Family Not a Group members. And yeah, it truly is an honor to have 3 more of you representing this amazing collective. And what I had all of them do was kind of just do individual intros and just saying like your specific role in Family Not a Group, FNG. And if you want to say a little bit about when you got involved, because I know everyone has a different timetable with it. We can start with you, Mike.
Yeah. So I'm Mike Evans Jr., comedian, director, writer, actor, and record producer and hype man.
Wow.
And educator.
A lot of hats.
A lot of hats. Too many hats. Exhausted person.
All giants.
I got involved with Family Not a Group through, I created this show called Rent Check Series, and from there, all my friends growing up were always like musicians, either rappers, singers, DJs, or producers, and I was like, I would love to make a soundtrack to my show, and that was my excuse to do it, to work with everybody at once. And then so after we had those album sessions, a lot of the artists from those sessions ended up being Family Not a Group.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike. Great to have you.
Great to have you. Oh, great to be here.
Oh, thank you. And then Frack.
It's like when a waiter serves you and you're like,
how are you?
Yeah.
You enjoy your food as well.
Yeah, enjoy your food too.
Did you enjoy it? Yeah.
My name's Frack. I'm a person. Also a rapper. And that's pretty much my role in FNG. I'm actually the newest member of FNG as of a few months ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, when FNG was getting started, I actually lived in LA. But I was doing the rent check sessions when I was back for the pandemic, and then I kind of was just around long enough that it was just becoming awkward that I wasn't in the group. You know, just kind of like
what are you
pestering Mike, and like, who is this? But we updated our status from it's complicated to official now. So
congrats.
now I'm in FNG, and it's been life-changing.
Amazing. And Vaughn?
Yeah, I'm Vaughn, DJ Say, DJ, artist, and event curator for Family Not a Group. My origin story is all specific to all 16 or 15 other members of Family Not a Group, I would say. I met people through different stages. I went to school with some people in FNG. I met through music in my earlier stages of making music. Then I met people in my later stages of making music. So I feel like it's just been just everybody has their own story with me and how we all, met and got familiar.
I love that. One of my favorite things about FNG is it feels like there was almost a demand or an organic demand that then took shape instead of a super intentional, we're going to make this happen. And everyone's story shows that you were all running in similar spaces.
Oh, yeah.
And there was kind of that, like you were saying, that it's almost awkward to not be part of it because you're so entangled, which I feel like is also a very specific San Francisco thing where it's not a big city, people support each other. And so it's cool that you formalized it. And I'm curious for maybe, Mike, you can start us off. What is one thing that you can say either in your art practice or as a person has grown from when you were kind of doing all of the things that you do, which is a lot of hats, heavy head, on your own versus having 16 other members to not only lift you up but kind of probably transform your practice. What's one thing that you've already grown and learned from and stretched from?
It's been beautiful, honestly. I think starting off in stand-up comedy too, it's most stand-up comedians don't have a field of comedians. It's we're all meeting up to make comedy together. It's it's not a real thing unless you're in a TV writing room or anything like that. So normally creating by myself, it's I didn't really have a lot of people to lean on to explain like, oh, I want to express this, but I don't want to come off this way, or I'm struggling with either promotion or videos or photos and stuff like that. And so to now be in FNG where it's like have all these people who I love and admire too for their own work, it was dope to just finally have somebody to be like, not just try to give me advice, but for advice from a sense of experience as well.
Absolutely. So, I love that.
That's that New York story too, where you're the only comedian rolling to the open mic 16 deep.
Yeah,
like,
What open mic was it?
It was what open mic. It was the show at Tribeca Comedy Club. Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
Where it came through. Yeah, brought in a heck of people.
The whole crowd.
Yeah.
The whole half of the crowd was all us.
Yep.
Yeah, I love the comedy aspect of it. I know Frag, like, I think one of the spirits to me of San Francisco that comes through in FNG is like there isn't this distinction of like, I'm just a producer, I'm just a comedian. Mm. There is that embracing of like, I'm all the things and it's fluid and there's roles which you need or else everyone's like, wait, who's bringing what? But I love the comedy piece that you bring to it. And I think that energy, I agree. Like, I think of comedy as kind of more siloed. And so to see comedy, but also, I think people don't understand the rich history of like Richard Pryor and Miles Davis, like opening for each other, Robert Glasper and Dave Chappelle. And I'm kind of curious for you two, like, what do you think that love affair is between music and comedy? Like, there's such a persistent love affair there.
Definitely. Well, do you want to start?
You don't have an answer. Huh?
Oh, I have an answer, Richard.
You go first.
Literally that right there. I mean, I definitely think that they're similar in the sense of like, we both need both. Everyone needs both of those things, music and comedy, like get through everything you've ever been through. And so I think naturally it's like a feel-good thing. But also I think charisma, stage presence go hand in hand too. And especially like with hip-hop and stand-up comedy are very similar in the sense that like, I always say that like stand-up comedy is like drunk spoken word poetry.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
That hit for you.
Yeah.
I know, I'm all ass spoken word poet. That's true.
So you're a sober comedian.
Yeah, on many levels. On many levels. I love that.
Yeah, but it's all about rhythm and about like stage presence. And it's like the more confident you are, if you look nervous, the audience knows you're nervous. If someone doesn't hear a certain line, it'll mess up the whole poem and it'll mess up the whole joke.
That's so true.
They're very similar. And like even the way I dress or like my cadence on stage too, I borrow that from rappers 100%.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
And then Frack, what would you say? You're definitely both.
Yeah.
He's hilarious.
Yeah, I'm starting to define myself more as a comedian. I'm, approaching things more from a hip hop aspect. I think being a battle rapper too is like something that battle rap and stand up have in common. And even hip hop in general as an art form is like, you're supposed to move a crowd with nothing but your words.
Yeah.
Like you're like manipulating the English language to like affect people to cheer, laugh, to bring emotions out of people, which is like a very unique thing. It happens in other musical genres, but not like hip hop where you're, especially battle rap, which now is like mostly a cappella for people who don't watch battle rap. It's like, it's just your words in a crowd, which is like stand up too. It's just your words in a crowd. And even like Vaughn and some of the other artists like Gable, Ozer, Callie, these are like very, lyrical artists who are, at our shows, it's like the mics need to be on. Like when we're talking to the sound guys, like they need to hear what we're saying type beat, because that's like an important part of FNG, I think, is like using words to, create movements, make people laugh, yada, yada, yada. So, but I think that's something that comedy and hip hop, I remember watching like Dave Chappelle Block Party as a kid and being so inspired, because it's like, that's really what we're all doing. We're doing it approaching it from different like artistic standpoints, but like we're all like using our words and bits and rhymes and stuff to move people.
And it is coming from this lineage of improvisation and that quick wit of like in DJing, right? Like you're analyzing, you have your preparation, like, which is important, but then you have pure presence. Like presence is for DJing too, like you need to be able to read and make quick decisions if the crowd isn't moving. Can you speak to that with DJing too? Like what is that role of the selector?
I would assume it's similar to comedy in the way of like you have your preparation process. You know, you think you know what the crowd will be or what they want to hear, right? But then you get there, you get on stage, and it's like, oh, this is a completely different crowd, or okay, I was prepared for this crowd, kind of thing. And you just go with, you know, the vibe or the energy of the night, you know, and that might keep you on course with what you prepared for. You might, you know, get completely off the rails and go in this whole different direction that you weren't expecting. But, you know, being just somebody who's able to adapt, be able to like think on your toes, like freestyle like an artist, like a comedian, you know, like just being able to, just go with the flow, I feel like is the most important in all these mediums.
Yeah,
being
absolutely.
able to, you know, adapt to whatever's in front of you at the time. Yeah.
I think something that I've loved about watching from the audience perspective of you all is like also I think one of the unifying threads, and I talked about this with Lay, Jess, and Afterthought a lot about anytime I'd ask them the question, they'd be like, we're figuring it out, Issa. And that is like the DIY spirit too of like comedians and rappers of like, I'm not fearless, but I'm bringing my fear to the mic or to the stage like you were saying, and I'm going to play with it. Right. And I admire that so much because I think there is a way that perfectionism can really paralyze you from starting. When you're like at the mic and you're naked, you can't hide. There's no props. There's no, I mean, even a beat, let's be honest, like if you're having a hard night, like that's not going to cover it up.
Right.
You know, like if you're forgetting words or whatever. And I think it's been cool just seeing you all, I don't believe in yourselves or believe in yourselves enough to get through the night, and then that being so contagious from the crowd perspective of like seeing the way that you all support each other in the moment. And it's something that I think I want other people to know. Like you can start something without having the full plan.
Yeah, of course.
You know? But I asked them a question that I'm curious from the three of you. I feel a little intimidated by like how does a collective of 16 people make decisions? Like,
oh God.
You know, like how do you just even very literally like how do you is it non-hierarchical? Like how do you kind of organize and structure yourselves?
It's a lot of communication between, you know, who's available to, you know, handle that. You know, say if we have something this weekend. You know, some people, like Mike might be busy with Ren Check, Frack might be out of the state or something like that.
True.
You know, just not available, touring, rapping on big stages and whatnot. And, you know, other people might be busy, so it's like we kind of just all step up when it's needed kind of thing. And, you know, there's 16 of us, so it's like we have big group meetings and we have like our sub meetings for like different specific things, like the DJs will break off, or like, you know, the people who curate all the shows will break off, or people who handle this, that, and the third. So it's like
committee style
to a degree. To a degree, I'd say it's very much so we're figuring it out.
The next merch line. We're figuring it out.
We're figuring it out, Issa.
Stop pressing us. Also, one of the I like found something on the internet that was talking about bringing communal healing from the stoop to the world, but there's also a lot of language around Bay Area Renaissance, and I'm curious from where you sit because I hear people throw that around a lot who maybe aren't like actually living here and on the grounds. Like, would you how would you define the Bay Area Renaissance? Like, what does that actually look like, and do you feel like that's an accurate description to explain what's happening right now?
That's a really good question. I think personally for me, I felt it, and it's actually why I moved back here. Like when I was living in LA, I was like going to those rent check sessions, and I was like, there's energy here, and I'd prefer to be home to be part of that, you know? But like it's hard for me to exit out of my perspective and say that, because to like a tech bro who just goes to their scene, like I don't know if it's infiltrating them, but I think to the people who come to our shows, which I feel like is a lot of people, like tech bros come to our shows, but then also like there's a strong like native San Franciscan, native to Oakland community that comes to our shows and like finds a home in our shows, and like you're saying, gets inspired and is on their own movement. And I think a lot of it, like I can't tell you the economic reasons, but to me a lot of it had to do with the pandemic.
Yeah.
I think people had really had to like reassess their priorities. And a lot of people were just like, let's make art. You know, a lot of people came home to live with their families, take care of stuff at home. And they were like, oh, y'all cooking up? We're all like working on art together and like being like, one life to live, let's make this art thing happen, you know what I mean? And then that being associated with other movements and activism that happens in our spaces as well. But like, I feel like the Renaissance to me has been mostly like just a bunch of people like YOLO, like let's create, like on the most cliche way of saying it, like let's create and like let's collaborate. And like, I think what you said too is like, it came from a void too. Like FNG came from like, there wasn't a lot of nightlife for people who are into hip hop in San Francisco. So I think the fact that all these people were already trying to make it happen, and we were all kind of trying to throw shows, that like that Renaissance factor happened because there was a lack of it.
Absolutely.
So we were like trying to fill it up.
Yeah. Would you add to that, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I think you said it perfectly. I think part of it too with the Renaissance too is I think everyone's, for the most part, is like down to work with each other and down to support each other. It's like, oh, you're from the Bay, you're from here and there, you're trying to do your thing. I love your style. It could be completely different type of artist, and like, I think more than any other time I've like gone to see my friends rap, I'm seeing so many other artists at other people's shows, and that's so beautiful in the Bay. I love it so much, and like, honestly, like, I'm just never a boring weekend for us at this point.
I believe that.
Exactly.
Yeah, someone's doing something.
Yeah, even from like the outside perspective, as like an older person, I'll be like on IG and I'm like, wait, the snack sensei is an effigy. Like I'm just like finding these like different things and then connecting it, and I'm like, oh, I love that. Like that's really beautiful. But I am curious. Like I don't know how you're all feeling, but I'm kind of feeling in trying to like not defend the Bay, but in trying to like kind of counteract this like high crime doom loop narrative that's not new, and it's very clear where that's coming from. I sometimes like overemphasize how great things are here just because I feel like I have to, but then as like an internal family audience, like how are you all actually making a living and kind of dealing with the struggles of being in the Bay too, because it has now been many years of like really expensive, high cost of living. And when I talk to artists older, like they honestly don't relate to that. Like they were like, yeah, when I was your age, I could, have one job and I could pay my $230 rent. And that affords way more experimentation. So
I
we
hate
don't
that.
live through.
That makes me so mad.
But I just want to call it out because it's like it isn't that romantic picture, and I'm curious if is it the relationships are the resource that's carrying y'all, or like how scrappy are you getting to where you're like, all right, cool, we can actually continue to lay down our roots here.
Yeah, I mean, I think survival breeds creativity. It's like something to where we live in one of the most expensive places in the world with minimum wage probably the same as somewhere that's nowhere near as expensive as this place. So it's like you have to really be creative and you really have to use your time wisely. I feel like being in this collective helps not only us as a collective, but all of us individually. It's like a platform for all of our different mediums, and so we it's something that doesn't need to be spoken on, but like us all pushing this collective will push us all individually too, and we'll all gain notoriety from it. So we all see the importance of it. I feel like of pushing Family Not a Group to be as big as it possibly can, so that when somebody like me, like DJ Say has a show, they know me. People have seen me in Family Not a Group shows, so like inadvertently trickles into like my solo stuff or whatever, So it helps a lot for sure. I say in that regard.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. It's like what you were saying about the open mic. Now there are 60 people coming to see comedy.
Yeah.
So it kind of beefs up the other hustles.
We break the algorithm, I feel like. Whenever we all 16 of us and like our followings repost this same flyer, like
I love that.
pretty much all
Flyer.
of San Francisco sees it, pretty much, I'd say. Because everybody's like one person away from each other, right? So you know somebody who knows somebody in San Francisco, and you probably know somebody who knows somebody at FNG. So
yeah, that's true. What about you, Frack? Like coming from LA to here, like what's that pivot been like, even just in terms of your own like strategy and approach?
To like making a living?
Yeah. Or to even envisioning.
Yeah. Well, kind of bouncing off what Vaughn said, it's kind of like there's no infrastructure, so we're building it type thing going on. Whereas like where we have to get a little scrappy. You know, I think a lot of people in FNG have hustles, have jobs, have other things. You know, Mike, like, is a teacher. Like, I say, like, New York rappers sell drugs. Oh, wait, am I allowed to say that? New York rappers sell drugs. LA rappers do Uber Eats, and Bay Area rappers are teachers. You know what I mean? Like, that's my theory so far. And there's a lot of educators in our crew. There's a lot of people who have different hustles. I'm fortunate enough to like be doing some type of battle rap, cartoon rap life full time right now for the first time. But it's really like cobbling together hustles. Being in a Renaissance, you have to be a Renaissance man or a Renaissance woman, like wearing many hats and having a bunch of talents to make it by. But I feel like this group is actually, like what you're saying, like envisioning it. Like, I'm able to envision it because we're building the infrastructure. It's like we have so much proof of concept of our events, and we haven't even released any type of album or cypher or any type of thing yet. We've just been kind of like outside and live with it. So it's like we have what like most rap groups are like aiming to have, which is like a following that like shows up in real time. So the next steps, which will be like doing more like music together and content and stuff like that, will make things easier, I think, to envision like what it could be like for all of us to try and like be full-time artists. You know, that might be 5 years away, but it's at least like starting to become like a vision that's reachable, you know?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, because it's easy to give up when you don't have anybody else around you telling you they have the same dream as you, you know? And so it's like all of us together, it just makes it feel more real, honestly. Big support system. I think it's funny, we even have fun by ourselves.
Yeah.
I think 16 people.
That's when we're the most unhinged, actually. Definitely can be.
Because if you go to a show and no one's there, if 16 of us are there, we're like, it's going to be fun.
It's a show.
It's a show. Oh, definitely.
Exactly.
Something funny's going to happen. It's great. I can't imagine if we all live together. I don't know if
Yeah, don't do
we'd
that.
survive.
Don't get too confident.
FNG TikTok house.
Yeah. Oh my God.
But it's so nice to see. I think Fracky just said it, but I think we were talking about this before, that people start now with content creation and hope that funnels to audience development. And so when you can have the community and then build out content from that, I hate the word content, but like, if you can, be honest about what you have to put out to get a wider reach, that's a much better. I know that wasn't planned, but that's a much better.
It's like accidentally backwards, and I like it.
It's way better for sure to me to have community before content. I think it breaks the mold of what's going on nowadays, modern day, and like the more like TikTok artist or like viral sensation kind of thing. It's like we have a community first, and then like we'll worry about I know it's important, of course, like we're in the day and age of like daily content from artists, but our focus was more so like gathering people in a live space, not how we were talking about talking in front of the camera just all day. Like we feed off each other's energy, the energy of the crowd, and that kind of like keeps us going. It's like fuel.
Absolutely. We only have one more question, but I would love to know like how, just storytelling a little bit about like what you came up in, like in terms of the culture you came up with in the city versus like now. Like what are some of the evolutions that you're part of, not just that you're experiencing, but I'm curious, like coming up, what did you see in San Francisco or in the Bay?
Yeah, for me, honestly, like this is the most similar it's felt to when I was a kid. It's like I came up, as Issa knows, in Youth Speaks with like a really awesome community of like young MCs and poets that I knew from the SF in Oakland doing MC Olympics and that stuff. And like it was a cool time in the Bay Area because they were like from age 14 to 18, like I just knew every rapper who was like a kid trying to like be a young woke rapper, you know what I mean? And that was cool. And then I felt like when from like ages 18 to 23, when I was like a lot of like, I felt like because of the way tech swarmed in and like the population changed, like this could just be me. Other people may have had their pockets because SF is very, has pockets. But I just felt like I was missing that of like like a real community vibe of like people who are making art. And then now I feel like it's like that's what the Renaissance is like research. Is like I feel like a young boy again, like when I go to the site, when we have like meetings and shows and stuff like that, it's like all artists know each other again, and we're all like in communication, which feels like a big comeback, you know.
Yeah, I love that. I think we have time for one. Mike, do you want
Oh yeah, I think it's just. I think my life is just starting to make sense now. I think because for a long time, and even just been doing stand up for so long, all my comedian friends are like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
Because it's like what are you like? Well, you're involved with music videos and rappers, all this stuff. You just been doing stand up the whole time, but like now that like Family Night Group is is doing well, and like there's a spot for me now to do stand up. It's all starting to make sense. I think I used to do hip hop shows where it would be like rapper, Mike do stand up, rapper. I'll get booed immediately because
I think I've been to some, yeah.
Yeah,
And I was like, yeah.
She's like, I booed you before.
Yeah,
That was me.
Imagine dancing in the club and they're like, all right, everybody stop and sit down. Right. What? But now it's all organic, right? I host shows and stuff. So, I mean, yeah, I feel like I have more of a place now in hip hop, which is a crazy thing to say as a comedian.
Well, I'm so like honored to have just been in community with y'all and just witnessed the journey, and I'm so excited for like what's to come. I think you're just at the beginning, you know. Right. So
Thank
just
you.
seeing the evolution is going to be really like a beautiful gift for me, and I would love for y'all like plug how people can stay connected, with your work.
Yeah, I mean, well, me.
Yeah, do you want to do just individually and then?
Yeah, well, if you want to follow the collective, Family Not a Group on Instagram, it's at Family Not a Group __. And then me personally, I'm DJ Say Hey Kid with 2 eyes on Instagram. Yeah.
Yep. Frack the person on all socials.
Everybody loves Mike. Love spelled LOVEZ on Instagram and Rent Check series. It's a show and Family Night Group as well. Rent Check series also on YouTube.
Plug it.
SFUSD where I teach.
Follow me at SFUSD.
And if y'all want to collaborate in after school programs.
Same news there.
All right, well, it's been a pleasure having you all on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
Appreciate you.
There we go. And that was another episode of Transmission Studio. I'm your host, Issa Nakazawa, and keep it locked for the next episode. Hey.